where's the line for you on what's commercially ready and like what you should just maybe keep in house for customizations?
Yeah, I think that's a great topic. And obviously you're not going to want to replace your core systems, right? I mean, to say, oh, we're going to vibe code our web analytics app and replace, Amplitude or GA4 or something like that. Like, certainly, I don't think those things are wise or areas that folks should be really be pursuing. I mean, if it's core to your business, it's a core platform. The idea is that's not ripe for replacement. I think a lot of what the technologies are offering us right now is things to be augmentative to
Mm,
what we're doing, right? It is that ability to kind of stitch those systems together to like be that middleware and also be those little utilitarian tools or plugs that can kind of come in and help solve some novel problems. And I almost look at it, from a governance standpoint,
yeah.
totally understand what you're saying, where there's a concern about security and who has access to these things and like what are they doing to these systems. And the way that I'm thinking about it, the way that we're trying to do it within our organization is to really sort of democratize this with some guardrails. And so an example of that is we rolled out like a boilerplate to being able to do apps. And so that boilerplate has some security guardrails in it. It has some direction around how things should be coded. It has even some like UX UI considerations and stuff like that. And so as long as people are following the boilerplate, then we know some guardrails are being followed. But it at the same time opens up that democratization of being able to vibe code, right? And I almost look at it as like a new spreadsheet in a way, because it's like, well, you wouldn't tell anybody, whoa, 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 don't create a spreadsheet, right? Like, what are you doing? That's dangerous. And you also wouldn't worry about how many spreadsheets people are creating. It's like we all have a bazillion spreadsheets. So to me, it's like,
Mm.
well, this is sort of the next level. A lot of this vibe coding is the next level of just doing spreadsheets, right? It's like I want to be able to solve something that maybe I would have used a spreadsheet for in the past, but now I can describe it to an LLM and it creates a much more multifunctional version of something that would have just been a pain to try to recreate with other software before.
Man, I have three quick things to respond on that. First is I definitely have clients that have vibe coded their own kind of GA4 replacement. And
Okay.
that has been an interesting conversation of like, this is how we're tracking now. And this is the data that we're using. I'm like, well, let's, and you're talking about websites, right? That are built completely outside of a known framework, right? It's just completely HTML code, which has been in interesting conversations. Specifically, the kind of bringing everything together component under one roof, I think, is the core problem that marketers need to solve. And I went through like an executive uh, program through Harvard that was kind of the core issue that they were trying to solve. So I think a lot of businesses are trying to figure out cleaning up that data. LLMs, it doesn't have to be that clean. Okay, we can move a little bit quicker. And so a lot of the data science stuff got slowed down when everybody's still cleaning up data. But now, where are the hallucinations coming from? Well, maybe we need to have a little bit more grounding. But I think that that's like the key topic. And then from the guardrail standpoint, I can tell you, to your point, to expand upon that a little bit, I I mean, my team was trying out a lot of different tools, and I was like, wait before you give that tool, whoever that is, whoever just stood that up, access to like all our Google Drive, all our emails, like everything that we have, because you don't know where it's being processed, who's ingesting it, what are their terms of service. And I think that once that information like shadow AI gets out there from a publicly traded company or, proprietary data, how to do stuff, like once it gets into the LMs, I mean, I'm not sure how you get it back. Like, I'm not sure, like okay, you've clicked the button, don't train the model. I'm not sure. Like, I don't know how some of these LLMs process information. where those lines exactly are on the terms of service. We're trying to really dig into that. But like once that information gets out there to a public LLM and it gets updated and you've added proprietary information or, whatever out there, I don't know how you take that back. And I feel like that's a real concern for a lot of people. And, I feel like even your prompts, like your prompt library is starting to become, potentially, IP to a certain degree.
Yeah, totally. I mean, and it's just getting worsened with, I think you mentioned it earlier, like releases like OpenClaw, where, kind of introducing this massive sort of security risk. And if you saw recently, NVIDIA released their own sort of version of OpenClaw because they're seeing the
Really
writing on the wall.
security. Yeah, that was
Right,
cool.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and it's interesting to see, obviously it serves the best interest of NVIDIA to release something like that, but at the same time, they're recognizing that, like, oh, this is the future, right? This is how companies are going to operate. This is how they're going to do business. And we need to figure out a way to make this safe for organizations. Because I can only imagine, the governance teams and the scrambling that the larger enterprise companies are grappling with right now with all of the concerns you just mentioned. I think it's easier, obviously, for smaller organizations, smaller firms to act a little bit more entrepreneurial with this
Yeah.
stuff, take a little bit more risk. But yeah, your concerns are absolutely valid in terms of once something gets out there, it's out there. It's Pandora's box. You really can't close it back up.